You know, I've almost certainly made this video before, but here's the thing. The basis of this channel is I see people talking about something on the internet, and if I feel like I have something to say about that topic, then I turn on my camera and I start yapping. So that's what we're doing here today. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I've made like all of these exact same points in another video. I don't care. We're doing it again. Hey, do you know Severus Snape? What if he was a black guy? Hey, do you know Astrid from How to Train Your Dragon? Well, what if she was a black girl? This is the situation that has people on the internet big mad. Race swapping. Now, I gotta be honest, race swapping is just not really something that I care that much about. Like, in general, I just have very little interest in like micromanaging artists making art. You know, when it comes to adaptations, which is where race swapping happens, I just don't have that like bug in me that it feels like a lot of other people have, where they're like, you need to make it the same as it was before. If you make changes, then that's bad because it has to be the exact same thing as the old thing. I am more than okay with just letting somebody take a piece of source material and then do their own thing with it. I don't know. I'll never understand this like weird desire that people have to just consume the same piece of media over and over again. Because I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody that cares about race swapping are racists. I think it more so comes from that just like bug in them where they just have this weird desire to have adaptations be exactly the same as the source material. And then there is also like the group of people that are like, oh, well, they're just doing it for political reasons. It's DEI or whatever. And you don't know what individual cases are like. You know, it's being reported that they're casting Professor Snape as a black guy in the upcoming Harry Potter TV show. You weren't there in the audition process. You weren't there when they were having conversations about it. Like, I don't necessarily agree with a race swap if it's literally just for ideological reasons and in order to fill some kind of quota. But if they had an open audition process and a black guy gives the best audition and they decide to give him the part, even if the character in the Harry Potter book is white, it's just not something that I care about if they genuinely feel like he gave the best performance. Now, are there some situations where I just wouldn't ever really agree with a race swap? Yeah. If race is integral to how the character plays into the story, then in a situation like that, you probably shouldn't race swap. I think the best example of this is Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. The way that Atticus Finch plays into the story of To Kill a Mockingbird is that he is the only white lawyer in his town that will represent a black man. You can't really cast Denzel Washington as that character because it just fundamentally breaks the story. However, if we look at a character like Catwoman, I mean, Catwoman was played by two white people and then a black lady in the Adam West TV show. Then she was played by a white lady in the Tim Burton Batman movie. Then she was played by a white lady in the Christopher Nolan movie. And then she was played by a black lady again in the Matt Reeves movie. Race just isn't an important part of Catwoman's character or the role that she plays into the story. Like maybe in James Gunn's DCU, they'll cast an Asian lady as Catwoman. It just doesn't really matter. Like, that is absolutely a role where you should probably allow people of any type of race to audition, and then you pick the best one. Now, one of the big counter arguments that I always see people bring up is, what if they made a white Black Panther? I bet you wouldn't be happy if they made a white Black Panther. Checkmate, liberal. Well, straw man guy that I made up in my head, Black Panther is actually kind of an interesting example. Like, could you just slot Ryan Gosling into the T'Challa role in the 2018 Black Panther movie? Not really, because the plot of that movie is about how Wakanda, a black nation, chose not to help black people around the world in order to insulate themselves and keep themselves a secret and protect themselves. So for a plot like that, it is actually kind of important that T'Challa is a black man himself. That being said, if you were to like reboot Black Panther one day and you wanted to tell a story that isn't as focused on race, I mean, yeah, I don't know, why not? I personally wouldn't care. I'm actually pretty consistent on this topic. In fact, I bet you there are some interesting stories that you could tell where you have to cast a white guy as T'Challa. Like, I don't know, maybe fucking T'Chaka, his dad, gets with a snow bunny and, you know, she has her son T'Chaka, and then, like, it's time for him to be the heir to the throne, and because he's a white guy, he's dealing with, you know, Wakandans not wanting to accept him. I don't know, something like that could actually be an interesting story. Another counter argument I always see are people saying, like, well, how come they only race swap white characters, but like you never see it happen for other races? Well, strawman guy that I made up again, it does happen to other races. Bullet Train, for example, is a movie where in the original book, Brad Pitt was a Japanese guy. In this one, he's a white guy. Gods of Egypt is a cast of not Egyptian people. And I don't know, I can't say that I really care that much about these situations either. But the reality is that if you have people that are like left-leaning political freaks, they're only going to care about whitewashing and they're going to like twist themselves into pretzels in order to defend like the Astrid casting. And then you have right-leaning political freaks that'll freak out over the Severus Snape casting, but then they'll twist themselves into pretzels to explain why the Bullet Train casting is okay. And like at the end of the day, I'm annoyed by both of these sides, and I kind of wish that people would just consume art and then see if it connects with them and not spend so much time trying to micromanage the artists themselves. Now, I will say the Astrid example is really funny to me, and I wanted to lay out my argument before I got into this because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I just straight up don't care about, you know, race swaps. But first of all, the actress that plays Astrid is technically white. Like, yeah, she's mixed race, but half of her is white. So now you get into this weird ass situation where you have a bunch of people being like, well, your whiteness doesn't count. You've been tainted by the black. But it's even more hilarious because Astrid in the animated How to Train Your Dragon was already race swapped. She was voiced by America Ferrera, a Hispanic lady. So you were already deceived. You thought that you were watching an Astrid that was a pure-blooded Scandinavian white actress, but alas, you were listening to a Hispanic this entire time. You have been fooled. And guess what? It didn't matter. But you know what does matter? Subscribing to the channel and also becoming a member. Get some sweet, hot, nasty, exclusive content. And do feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.